Awesome. Hi, everyone, again. It's great to have you. Today, I'm pleased to be joined by Professor Gianluca Borchi, Program Director for the LLM in Global Health Law and Governance at the Geneva Graduate Institute at Geneva, and Olivia Kale, and some of our distinguished alumni from this program. We also have with us from the admissions team at Georgetown, Jessica Brom, who is here to share about the application process and answer related questions. In our last webinar, I introduced our LLM in national and global health law and mentioned in passing the LLM in global health law and governance. Today, I'm excited that you get a chance to learn more about this unique LLM and ask your questions. Next slide, please. Thank you. Just to give a brief overview of how this webinar today will go, we'll start with a quick introduction to the Washington, D.C. experience of the LLM program, after which we'll discuss the Geneva end of the program and take you through what it is like living and learning in Geneva. Our alumni will also share about their backgrounds and experiences in the program, and then we'll cover what the application process looks like. At the end, we'll have a Q&A session, but please feel free to drop your questions in the Q&A box throughout the webinar. Next slide, please. Before I hand over to Professor Borchi and Olivia, I just wanted to note that this LLM program is jointly run by Georgetown Law and the Graduate Institute at Geneva. This means that students get the unique opportunity to spend one semester at the seat of the US federal government in Washington, D.C., and one semester at what is considered the health capital city of the world, Geneva. Professor Borchi will share more about the experience in Geneva and what students can expect. Next slide, please. In Washington, students generally take up to 13 credits, and they have the opportunity to take a few different classes in health law. On the next slide, I'll share a bit more about our unparalleled health law curriculum that we review and update annually to keep up with trends and developments in global health law. Can I have the next slide, please? On this screen, you see some of the courses that you can take at Georgetown Law in the one semester you spend here. We also have the fortune of hosting two United Nations Special Rapporteurs on the right to health as guest and adjunct lecturers. So we have courses that address global health security. With the increase in public-private partnerships in health law now, we also have a course that addresses public-private partnerships in health. We have a course on the international right to health. And Professor Borchi also teaches a course on the WHO law and governance in DC in the fall of every year. Next slide, please. Based on the courses that you're interested in and the topics that you would like to learn more about during the LLM program, students can curate their academic experience in such a way that you become an expert in specific topics at the intersection of health and law, or you could also just gain general experience of health law nationally or globally on a broader scale. Some topics that students are able to specialize in include reproductive rights and justice, global health governance, healthcare access and regulation, legal interventions to prevent and control infectious and non-communicable diseases, regulation of food, drugs, and technologies. Students also have the opportunity to work at the O'Neill Institute during their fall semesters as research assistants, and that helps students to put into practice what they are learning even before they get into the job market. Next slide, please. For the 5 months that they spend in DC, students have access to all the events and programs that we host for LLM students. Every month, we host a mix of social and professional activities. And we also send a weekly email that highlights all the events that happen on campus across all Georgetown campuses, which students have access to. We also send emails that highlight all the different events in health law and policy in DC, and there are a lot of those. And students usually have access to those as well. The Institute also offers support for student-led events, and so sometimes students decide to convene events or invite speakers, and we offer support for organizing these events or also just providing spaces. Next slide, please. Living in DC is also a very unique experience, with our law campus being only steps from the US Capitol. Students have the opportunity to connect with professionals working in politics, policy, and governance in DC. Sometimes this is at events that we invite students for, but sometimes this is also at events on the Georgetown Law Campus, because we often have these professionals either teaching or attending events as guest speakers or as panelists, even in some of our courses as well. Next slide, please. Some of our past events include we have annual hikes with our faculty directors. We also have an annual speed networking event that we just held last week, actually, where we invite professionals in the field to come and chat briefly with LLM students about their experiences and also just generally share what it is like working in health law. We also usually have the honor of hosting the current UN Special Rapporteur on the Right to Health, Dr. Tlaleng Mofokeng, for a special event every year, typically after she presents her reports to the United Nations in New York. Co-faculty director, Professor Goodwin, also hosts a meet and greet with students every year, while Professor Gustin hosts an annual health talk with the health law students every year when they resume. Next slide, please. This picture is from our annual LL.M picture day. We walked to the US Capitol to take headshots and group pictures with the LL.M class. From this picture, you just see how close the US Capitol is to the students. And this day, we literally walked from the law campus to the Capitol to take the headshots and also just to take group pictures of the current LL.M class. Next slide, please. Also just sharing a few pictures of some of the past events that we've had, including our orientation networking event, the health talk with Professor Larry Gustin, the meet and greet with Dr. Tlaleng Mofokeng, and also with Professor Michelle Goodwin. Next slide, please. We take a personalized approach to professional development, and we organize monthly professional development events. Next slide, please. We also ensure to connect students to the amazing career services office that we have at Georgetown Law that supports both students and alumni as they go through the job market. Even from the start, right from the start of the LL.M program, students are able to get resume review services, cover letter review services, mock interview services, as well with the career services office. We also send weekly opportunities emails to students. So every week, delivered to your inbox, you get different opportunities within the field, fellowships, jobs, internships as well, within the health law space, just so that students are able to see what it is that they can do with the degree and also start to apply to things early. For all LL.M students who are also interested, we ensure to connect them with mentors who are working within their field or the field that they have disclosed that they would like to work in the future. We also provide networking opportunities. Students are invited to all the professional events that we host at O'Neill. And so students have the opportunity to connect with professionals within the health law space right on campus. Students are also able to try their hands at writing an op-ed through publishing expert columns on the O'Neill website. That is often good for your resume because it puts your name out there, and also just helps you to start to establish yourself as an expert in a particular field. Next slide, please. I'll now hand over to Professor Borchi and Olivia to go over what students can expect in the semester that they spend in Geneva.
Olivia, you go ahead.
Sure. So I will be happy to begin by presenting myself, and after I will let Professor Gianluca introducing himself. So I'm Olivia Kell. I'm the Academic Support Officer for the John LL.M. in Global Law and Governance program at the Geneva Graduate Institute. And I'm taking care of the logistics and the coordination of the program here in Geneva. So if you're coming in our program, you will be really a lot in contact with me if you have any question, if you need any help while preparing to come in Geneva. I will be the person you will be talking to.
Thank you, Olivia. So my name is Gianluca Burci. I'm currently Senior Visiting Professor of International Law at the Geneva Graduate Institute and Academic Advisor of the Global Health Center, which is one of the research centers of the Graduate Institute. I'll explain in a few minutes a bit more the academic part, but just to underline that I'm not a career academic. I worked about 30 years as a lawyer in various international organizations, of which 18 in WHO. So even though I try to do a good job to put together an academically and pedagogically credible course, I'm not a theoretician, so I very much try to bring in, if you want, the practical and policy aspects of global health law, what WHO does, and so on. So I hope that's something of interest to students. Thank you, and over to you, Olivia.
Thank you, Gianluca. So I will be presenting a little bit the city of Geneva and the Geneva Graduate Institute itself. So the Geneva Graduate Institute is really at the heart of the UN area in international Geneva. You will find here in Geneva 30 international organizations, 250 NGOs, and 172 diplomatic missions. So Geneva is also the headquarters of 130 multinationals. So this is really an unique international environment here. And just to give you an example, in the neighborhood of where is the institute, we have organizations such as the World Health Organization, the Global Fund, the Gavi, the Red Cross, and other really famous international organizations. So the main building of the institute is Maison de la Paix, so the Peace House. It's at 5 minutes by foot from the UN. In this building, the main building, you can find the institute's library, which is really a quiet place to study alone or in groups. We also have a restaurant and a great cafeteria with special prices for students, a daily menu, an extensive variety of choices for vegan and vegetarian in the form of a buffet. We also have the Villa Barton, which is the pink villa here on the slides, which is really close to the lake, and it has been recently renovated. So you will be able to have classes in Maison de la Paix and the villa while coming to the institute, and you will be also able to attend some events or classes in those buildings. The institute also owns two recent housing buildings, the Grand Morillon Residence, which has a magnificent view of Geneva on the top, and the Edgar and Daniel de Picciotto residence in front of the Maison de la Paix, so the main building of the institute. The two buildings are 5 to 10 minutes by foot from the institute. They're really close to transportation, and they're really also in the center of the international Geneva with all the international organizations. Now, a little bit about the student life. So as a student, you will have access to a variety of opportunities. You will have access to a range of activities on offer at the University also of Geneva, which is in the center of the city. And this includes really inexpensive and free sports and cultural activities. At the Institute, you also have quite a few students' association you can join if you are interested. And we have also a well-being center. So if you are experiencing psychological or medical difficulties and need help or resources, you might reach to my colleagues there, and they can see what they can do for you. We also have a career service that helps students improve their profiles, CVs, while searching for job or internship opportunities. And I will talk a little bit about more this service later. And on the campus, you can also find a lot of conferences, events that are organized. Many events are happening within the institute, within the main building, Maison de la Paix. And if you happen to attend some of them, you will really benefit from an environment of learning, networking, and exchanging of all areas of international affairs, because a lot of the invitees are from the international organization around in the neighborhood, so around the institute. And now we'll leave the floor to Gianluca to talk a bit more about the program's feature and what we'll be offering you if you come studying at the Geneva Graduate Institute.
Thank you, Livia. First of all, maybe a couple of words on the Graduate Institute, because everybody knows Georgetown, but not necessarily everybody knows the Graduate Institute. The Institute is not a university. It's a distinct organization in the Swiss academic system. It's a postgraduate institute, so we do only masters and PhDs, plus we have an executive education program. It was created in 1927 as a think tank for the League of Nations, which was the predecessor of the United Nations, really to have a capacity building service for those who would become the leaders of international organizations. So it has kept its vocation as an institute which is devoted to two things. First of all, international studies, and second, largely social sciences. It has a number of academic programs, academic disciplines. It has international law, economics, international history and politics, political science and international relations, and anthropology and sociology of development. It has also what we call an interdisciplinary program, which is really the flagship in terms of the number of students that register for it, which has a strong, if you want, political international relation flavor, but it offers quite a number of courses in the other disciplines. So in a way, the advantage, the attraction, in my view, of the joint LL.M is that it offers a very complementary and complete experience, because in Georgetown, in a way, it's a law school. So you will definitely focus more on the law. In the Graduate Institute, of course, there will be international law courses, but I will say in a moment, you will have a number of social science courses that will really round you up. In particular, if you're thinking of a career in the public service, in the public system, in governments, international organization, academia, and so on. So it is a beauty of the complementarity between the two sections of the program. Next slide, please, Olivia. So that's just to give you an idea of the calendar, which starts a bit later than the American counterparts. The Swiss system has a strangely long winter break, which is about 2 months. So the spring term starts in mid-February, so you can see the calendar for 2020. The last day of classes, the exam period is either in class or take home, and take home is normally like a couple of weeks. So the deadline for exams is like mid-June, and then the official end of semester is in September, just the day before the new academic year starts. So no big surprises there. But just to say that the classes are concentrated in about 3 months, between 3.5 months, mid-February to the end of May. Next slide. So beside the courses, and next slide will show you a little bit of the offer that we can give you. We try to create a richer experience for the student in the joint LL.M. First of all, you will be here during the Health Assembly, the plenary body of WHO that meets normally at the end of May. And usually, through my contacts in WHO, I manage to get public badges for students. So you can go to the UN building where the assembly is held and observe the meetings, and mingle with diplomats. So I think normally students like very much that experience. But also we try to have a bit of a flavor of working in global health. So we'll organize what we call a field trip like briefings in WHO or one or the other health organization like UNAIDS, the Global Fund, and so on. Organize meetings with professionals from this organization to see what their professional journey has been. So just to go beyond just the academics and try to give you an exposure, a possibility of networking, and a sense of what it means to work in global health. As you can see, the requirements in terms of credits are different from the States. Obviously, the European system is a bit different. You have to accumulate 24 credits. Every course, every full course is 6 credits. So you will have to take 4 courses, plus 15 credits from an internship. So let's go a bit through that. Through next slide, please. So the only mandatory course is my course, Global Health Law. You will see that also the Georgetown will offer you a global health law course for the fall. So in a way, you will study partly the same topics, but with definitely different approach. So the feedback we receive from students is that we're not, oh my goodness, I'm learning the same things twice, but they really got different perspectives on the big topics of global health law. So we see it as something enriching and in a way completing rather than duplicating. For the rest, we try to offer a good portfolio courses. There will be about 12, 13 courses in a variety of disciplines: anthropology, law, history, and international relations. So what you see on the screen is only some of the courses that will be on offer. Again, to try to expose you to topics that are not just health focused, but they give you a broader flavor of social sciences, of the landscape, political and legal landscape around global health. So that's something that students normally appreciate because they can really broaden up their horizons. Next slide, please. Internship is an integral part of the program. First of all, normally internships are taken in the summer because if you do a full-time internship, it's very difficult to accumulate it with a full-time academic program. So normally students move to the internship after the end of the courses. The internships don't have to be only done in Geneva. They can be done anywhere in the world. So we had interns, for example, that for students that the internship in the Pan-American Health Organization or the World Bank in Washington, in one of WHO's regional offices in Copenhagen, or I believe it was New Delhi, as long as it is linked to global with the course. And you will have to submit a report at the end of the internship, and that will be, again, 15 credits that will accumulate on top of the 24 for the courses that you will attend. We'll do all that we can to help you secure an internship, but it remains your responsibility. And internships in summer are very competitive, of course. Many students want to have a professional experience in an institution, an international organization, or elsewhere. So my advice is to start looking early, like in February or March, already look around and apply for internship. We had a few cases in the past where students could not take an internship for a variety of reasons. So exceptionally, you can submit a longer research paper in lieu of an internship, of course, approved in consultation with me as a course director. And also, we had, I believe it was Jasmine, if I'm not wrong, that was already a practicing attorney. So in a way, also your job can serve as an internship. As long as it is a professional experience linked to global health that leads to an analytical report at the end of your experience. So it's quite open, but it's really to get you into the professional side of working in global health. I forgot whether it's my last slide or...
It will be your last slide normally.
Okay, cool. Then I turn it back to Olivia. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gianluca. So Yes, as said, Gianluca, each student is responsible for securing their own placement for the internship. However, of course, we are here to guide you and support you. And that's why you have access to the career services within the institute. So it's good because you have one at Georgetown. You will also have one here at the Geneva Graduate Institute. And the team is really dedicated to empowering students to develop professionally. So they offer training session, individual counseling, networking opportunities, and job placement to help you explore your career option. So I will highly recommend if you come reaching out to this service at the start of the semester to assist you in finding an internship. As said, Gianluca, you need really to do it early. Moreover, the team organized various workshops on topics such as CV and cover letter writing, networking, LinkedIn optimization, career planning, and interview preparation. It might be sometimes, depending on the continent, like it can be different what employers are expecting on a CV, for example, or a cover letter. So think that having both of those services in the two institutions is really good for you if you can if you really need to find something in Switzerland, if this is really what you want, they will guide you to write and to do a profile that will attract the employers here. So yeah, with this team, with our career service, you can also schedule individual session for personalized guidance. And we also have a platform where you can boost job and internship opportunities posted by the international organization here in Geneva. Before finishing, I really wanted to talk a little bit about the life here, the daily life here in Geneva, because this is no secret that Geneva isn't the cheapest city in the world, but that doesn't mean it is prohibitively really expensive. With your student card, you will have access to a number of discounts, and I don't think that you will have to worry too much about your finances if you are sensible and careful with your budget. I was once a student in Geneva, and so I thought it will be good to give you some tips to show you that living on a budget in this city is possible. So for example, for groceries on a budget, you can check two stores, Lidl's and Aldi, that have great qualities at lower prices. We have here in Europe, I think this is also in the US, an app called Too Good To Go, which allow you to buy for a very low price and sold food of restaurants and supermarkets every day. You will also discover, if you don't know Switzerland, that it is a country of mountains and nature. So you will have the pleasure to experience city life while being close to nature all around you. You will have you could enjoy the winter activities like free ice skating in the city in winter, or hiking in the mountains and swimming in the lake during the summer. We have also free walking guided tour in the city. And if you want to travel far away in Switzerland to discover the country, I recommend you to buy, if you come, what we call the half fare travel card, or demi-tarif in French. And it allows people to pay only 50% of all train tickets and public transportation tickets in Switzerland. We also have, for example, the website BlaBlaCar, which is a French website for car sharing. So yeah, I just wanted to give you some information just to show you that if you're planning to come, you can live on a budget here, and I'm sure that you will be able also to ask a question and tips to other students here in Geneva. And now I will leave the floor to Gianluca to present our two alumni that are here, and that will give some testimonies about the experience they had while doing our joint LL.M.
Thank you, Olivia. And so before introducing our two alumni, I'm happy that Olivia sort of sang the praises of Geneva, because Geneva normally gets a pretty bad rap, expensive, boring, and so on. But it actually offers a lot. It's a small city that offers a lot. Culturally, the Graduate Institute is a relatively small institute. We have 1,000 students, but it's very rich. There is workshops, conferences every day. So it punches above its weight in terms of cultural lifestyle and academic offer. So I think it's an undeserved bad rap sometimes. And in terms of prices, at this point, it's as expensive as New York and Washington, maybe cheaper. Okay, so having said that, of course, I mean, we do a marketing pitch as we should, but it's good that you hear from two of our alumni that can tell you something about what their experience has been and whether and how the joint LLM has helped the careers. So I'll start with Jasmine Howard. If I remember correctly, Jasmine was here in 2022. And she's currently program director at Salus Populi at the new Northeastern School of Law. That's a program that educates the judiciary on social determinants of health. So something I think highly needed to sensitize judges on the broader dimension of health. So Jasmine, over to you.
Thanks, Gianluca. So yes, I was in the program from 2021 to 2022. Prior to that, I had been working in litigation. I have a public health background, but I really wanted to get a broader sense of, especially coming out of the pandemic, what was the global health side, sort of who was running, what were the processes that were sort of the decision-making side. So that's sort of what led me into the program. And as Gianluca said, coming out of it, sort of transitioned into this role where I'm very much working with judges to educate them on the social determinants of health, with the idea that we're sort of trying to break that vicious cycle of once someone's in the judicial system, health very much plays a role in their ability to get out of the system. But what I really liked about the program, I think first and foremost, was the diversity of participants. Got the ability both in DC at Georgetown and at the Graduate Institute to really hear perspectives that, as someone who went to school in the US and had, typically predominantly American classmates, you just got to hear a lot more perspective from other countries, from other sort of ways of life that I felt like made really rich discussion, sort of expanded the way that I thought about areas of health. I think within the Geneva program specifically, in Switzerland, I really liked that we weren't just taking legal classes. I think there are classes there that expanded my sort of full understanding of how I think about health. I took an anthropology class, which is something I'd never done in undergrad or in law school, and just sort of things that broaden my perspective on the issues. I think Geneva is a city that I didn't personally find it to be. I currently live in Boston. The groceries and housing in Geneva are substantially cheaper than Boston. I think when you touch service industries, that's where it gets slightly more expensive, but it's not a struggle to live there. I didn't find anyone. There were 7 of us in our group. Everyone was sort of in different life stages. Like someone came with her husband and children. Other people were single. Some had worked before, some hadn't. Everyone was able to live fairly comfortably. Most of us lived in housing that the Graduate Institute provided, which was convenient to everything. I would also say, I think one of the, now that I'm out of the program, takeaways is I've been able to do things with both the alumni on the Graduate Institute side and the alumni from Georgetown. For example, the Graduate Institute every summer does a soiree at the Swiss embassy, and you go and they do a lecture. They bring a professor in from the Graduate Institute, and then you have a lunch at the ambassador's residence. And it's been a really great way. I've met additional people both in the DC area, but also in Boston through that. And for Georgetown, there was one day where I was walking around in a Georgetown hat, walking my dog, who also came to Switzerland. And this man came over with his dog and was like, "Oh, I went to Georgetown. Have you gone to any of the Swiss Hoya activities?" And I told him no, so he connected us. And then we ended up, our full group had like 2 or 3 activities that they had organized. Some were after work type, others were, they do a ski trip. So there's different things and ways to get involved. But I think even now, the Graduate Institute sends out their like every 2 weeks of what activities they have coming up. And I still log into webinars. So I definitely think there's the ability to both take the information you learn and use it in the future, but also to continue to stay connected and continue to sort of learn things in areas that you might not know about or things that you want to sort of follow up on. So as I finish the program I'm on, is a 2-year grant funded initiative. So as I decide if we want to continue funding or switch other ways, I really have enjoyed the ability to sort of stay connected in both global health worlds in DC and Geneva. So I would happy to take questions later on, but it was a fantastic opportunity for me to sort of pivot out of litigation and move more into working with people and issues within global health and just general health law.
Thank you, Jasmine. And before I give the floor to Amélie, you mentioned something which I should have mentioned, and that is the Graduate Institute is extremely international. I think we have a minority of Swiss students. For the rest are students from all over the world, many from Asia, Latin America, European countries, and so on. Also, the faculty body is extremely international. I think at this point we have like 70, 75 professors, maybe less than 10 are Swiss. They come from all over the world, and that's something I personally like very much. This diversity that makes it very attractive. Amélie, over to you.
Hi, good afternoon. Actually, I'm in Geneva, so I can say good afternoon. I'm always happy to participate in, sharing my experience, just because mostly it's had a huge importance on my career, actually. Because so I did the LL.M a long time ago, so in 2012. It was the early days of the LL.M. And so with the program, with the internship, I immediately started working with WHO just after the internship. And so I first started with working with the PIP Framework Secretariat. So you'll learn about this if you do the course, but essentially I did a lot around negotiating contracts with manufacturers, vaccine manufacturers. I worked on the Nagoya Protocol. I worked on access and benefit sharing. I worked on pandemic preparedness. And so I spent about 6 years there. And sorry, that was the time when Gianluca was also working in WHO, so we worked together there. And it was really a great experience, and really the program kind of led me directly into it. It was very practical. Now, well, now I'm on leave because I'm pregnant, but I am usually working in the Secretariat of the Global Preparedness Monitoring Board. And so this board is an advocacy, a monitoring board, and I've been working there for about 6 years. And I work a lot on advocacy around pandemic preparedness, monitoring. We produce an annual report on the state of the world's preparedness, and I was very involved in the COVID-19 response. And that was really, I think through the O'Neill program, as Gianluca was saying, you don't just learn about law, you learn about other areas. And that's really helped me as well in the work I do, because right now I do a little bit of everything, governance, law, but also financing, more health-related issues, and so on. So yes, I think the program really helped me there to get into this and to get more practical. It's Geneva is a beautiful environment. The Graduate Institute is really well connected to the global health institutions and the processes. The professors are very involved. And yeah, you can work on many aspects of global health. So really, I think for me, it was a really important experience. It's many years ago. I've been in WHO ever since. WHO has this thing often when you start as an intern and then you think you're going to stay a few months and you end up spending your entire career there, or at least for me, it's been almost 12 years there. So but yeah, it was, I still have, very, very fond memory of the program, of the fact that it's very practical, very well connected. And I really encourage everyone, especially in these days, which are, difficult for multilateralism and so on, to, experience the program in Geneva and get connected into the global health capital, as Olivia said. So I'm happy to answer any other questions.
Thank you, Amélie. So I hope this was useful, and Amélie and Jasmine kindly will also respond to questions if there are some addressed to them. And I pass it on to Jessica Bram from the Law Center Admission Office to explain a bit the application process.
Hi, everyone. So I work directly with LL.M admissions at Georgetown. I'm also an alumna. I did the program. I graduated in 2019. Unfortunately, wasn't health law related, but it's always great to hear and maybe thinking and doing another LL.M in the future, perhaps. So here I am today to talk more about the application process, because you heard all these amazing possibilities you can do between this amazing program of Georgetown and the Geneva Graduate Institute. So if you are planning to apply, here is the few little things we advise you to look at. The documents we require are fairly standard throughout universities. So you need application form, your resume or CV, personal statement, usually 2 to 3 pages long, double spaced, where you're going to tell us a little bit extra information that your resume, your transcript, and all the other documents you're sending to us don't tell. And also your goals, career goals, or your educational goals, and why specifically you want to do this program. Why do you think this program will help you to achieve your personal and career goals? We need all your transcripts with translation. So that means all the graduation, undergrad or graduation, master degree, PhD, everything you already study in your life. We will also need a registrar certification form. So this is if you're not applying with the LSAC. So if you're not applying through the LSAC, we will need this extra form. But if you decide to apply through LSAC, then you don't need to add this extra form. And then we require 2 letters of recommendations, which can be either from academic professors or from supervisors from your workforce or internships you've done. We highly recommend for you to choose wisely people that really know you, both educationally or professionally. We really think that this is another way for us to get to know you as a candidate a little more. And then we require the TOEFL or IELTS exam. And then for the TOEFL is 100 score and the IELTS is 7.5. So this is for people, we have a few exceptions. So if you graduated, your law school was entirely in English, you may be a case for a TOEFL waiver or IELTS waiver, or if you are coming from English-speaking country, then you also get, of course, automatically, you don't need the TOEFL score. So those are the documents we require. If you have any questions, the admissions office is here to help you, and not only to receive your documents and review your application and decide whether or not to admit you, but we are here to guide you and answer any questions you may have and connect you with the right people to answer your questions if we can't. So I'm happy to connect if you want. And yeah, let us know if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you all. Now I am tempted to come back to do the LL.M in global health law and governance. Thank you, Jasmine and Amelia, for sharing your experience, and Olivia and Gianluca for this wonderful marketing pitch, because even I am sold. I see that we have some questions in the chat, so I will start. I see one question about scholarships for the program. So the short answer is yes, there are scholarships available. We offer a limited number of full tuition to partial tuition waivers. And there's a separate application process for this. Generally, if you go to our website, you see that we require an additional statement of 500 words just on a health issue that you're passionate about or that you care about. This can be something based on your work experience or on a personal experience that you've had with health or health law in the past. We generally ask students to submit this just so that we learn more about your background and your interest in this program, as well as a statement of financial need. So these two documents are the two additional documents that we ask for students applying for scholarships. I don't know, Gianluca, if you would also like to address any additional funding requirements on the Graduate Institute end.
Thank you all. As you said, we, of course, try to offer a limited number of full or partial tuition waiver. The Graduate Institute, of course, is a smaller institute. Doesn't have the economies of scale of Georgetown, but we really do what we can to meet the financial concerns of students. In that case, I think we also require a few more information to justify the request for financial waiver. I don't know if, Olivia, you want to say something about that because you've been working on this.
Yes, actually, we ask you generally to answer a questionnaire about how much you earned in the past years, your financial statements, personal statements, who are in your household, just to establish, just to identify the needs you have, and to know how much we can do as a waivers. Generally, it's not a scholarship, this is tuition waivers that we give to help you. So based on all those information, if you're selected first, you will be able to answer this form, this tuition waivers form, and to provide also the documents we required to evaluate your request.
Thank you both. And I think Olivia's point at the end there was super important because tuition waivers really only apply to tuition. So there's no leeway for living costs or stipends for living costs. The only other thing that we try to do is that while students are here in DC, the O'Neill Institute often hires a good number of LL.M students as research assistants for the semester that they are here. So generally, that often supplements living costs. Gianluca, go ahead.
Yeah, just to add that, yes, of course, there would be a possibility of applying for a research assistant or on a project, of course, compatibly with a relatively short period of say that many organizations now are giving a stipend for interns. Because obviously it's very unpopular to have people work full-time 3 months without any remuneration. So the United Nations is a holdout. The UN Secretariat, as far as I know, doesn't offer any financial support. But WHO, for example, offers a stipend of about the equivalent of about $2,000 a month. It's not huge, but it really helps. So at the end of your experience, if you go into an internship, many organizations will give you some financial support.
Thanks, Gianluca. I see a question about what are the admission requirements and minimal qualifications. I know Jessica already touched on admissions requirements. So if you have any specific questions relating to that, that maybe you didn't understand or you want additional clarification on, please feel free to drop it in the chat. But with respect to minimal qualifications, generally, we require you to have an LLB or JD equivalent degree from your home country or from the United States. And I think that's like the basic minimum. I see you are muted, Jessica. You can go ahead.
Yeah, I would jump in, but I didn't want to interrupt you. So yes, you said the primarily requirement. I think what we usually candidates are worried about what we are looking for. And of course, we are looking for a variety of different candidates, right? So everything you bring will take into consideration. So we will evaluate every single thing. We have a holistic approach. So where you graduated, of course, your grades during your studies, if you've done any internships, where you done, what kind of work you've been doing after graduation, if you have that period in your career. I think everything will take into consideration. And we are looking for this variety, right? We are a very large program at Georgetown, and we believe that the differences in their careers and their age and their backgrounds, country, will always help the program to be successful in other levels. So I think that's what we're looking for. So there's no such answer because we don't have a perfect candidate. I think like a lot of little things will make a person to be really good for us. So it's not about, you know, you have to do this or that. I think everything you've been doing, do your best and build a really good application and send it to us, because we will review with a lot of attention and care. So I think that's what I would say.
Thank you, Jessica. And I also know that Jasmine mentioned something earlier about in her cohort, there were people who had worked for a while, there were people who were just out of law school. So there's really no cheat code. We look at your interest in health law, your interest in your experience in health law. It doesn't have to be extensive. Any demonstration of your interest. For me, when I was applying, I had only done a 1-year research assistant position with a professor at my university in Nigeria. And I also did my undergraduate thesis on a health law issue. So it doesn't have to be that you have worked for a good number of years in health law. It really is how you are able to sell yourself in your application materials. So that's, I guess, the challenge to you. But please don't like discount any of your experience or any part of your background. I think everybody is unique, and we are looking for a unique, diverse cohort for each year of the program. This person says, while I have a grasp of the difference between the LL.M in global health law and governance and the LL.M in national and global health law, what is your advice for a prospective student struggling to make a decision between both programs? My true love is really health law and ethics and using policy to create better global health outcomes. I will give our alums a chance to answer this since they had to make this decision. I don't know if Jasmine and Amelie, if you want to take a stab at this.
Yeah, I would say in terms of, I took an ethics class at Georgetown in health ethics that I really thought was interesting. For me, I think I was really wanted to focus on the global side since I already have a master's in public health. So for me, the decision was I was specifically looking for a program where I could understand the global side of health. So that decision was slightly easier. I also like grew up outside of DC, so I thought the opportunity to live abroad and experience a different culture sort of pushed me towards the Geneva global governance side. But I would say the courses you're interested in, you'll definitely have the opportunity either way.
If I can add, before I did the program, I actually spent some time working on more bioethics and science and research. I think, you know, there's a lot of work that's being done on these topics at the global level. So it isn't just, you know, ethics at the national level, but WHO does a lot of work on public health and ethics. I was actually on the WHO ethics committee for several years. So I think there's different paths to it. I think both programs have good ways to get into it, depending on which side. Maybe the Geneva approach is probably looking at it more from the global level, but it's still a hugely important topic for global health. So.
Thank you, Amelie. I think, yeah, it will boil down to what exactly you want to do with the degree as well. One thing I have heard from a number of the alumni is that the choice for a lot of people just came down to wanting to study in Geneva, and how that is an experience that you wouldn't have if you do the National and Global Health Law LL.M. And so the proximity you have to all the different global health institutes and working at the Center of Human Rights and Health is something that I guess moves the needle for a lot of people when you compare it to the Global Health Law LL.M, which is fully in DC. I have noticed from LinkedIn searches that most mostly alumni of the National and Global Health Law Program work with the O'Neill Institute, and not much of the alumni of the Global Health Law and Governance Program do. Is there a particular reason for this? I don't think it's an intentional, it wasn't the design of the program. I think it's basically based on the interest of most people. Most people who do the Global Health Law and Governance LLM do want to stay back in Geneva and work in Geneva, or work in international health organizations like the WHO, UNAIDS, and in the UN system. While many of the people who end up staying back at the O'Neill Institute want to work in academia, or they want to continue to do research, which is something that isn't necessarily placed for working, like doesn't necessarily require you to work in Geneva or work at in global health law and governance. Jasmine, I see that you're unmuting.
Yeah, I would also add, I think a lot of the people in my cohort, so there were 7 of us, 3 from the US, and then the other 4 from Japan, Taiwan, New Zealand / Germany, and Australia. I'd say all of us did an RA position in the fall when we were at Georgetown. And then when we went to Switzerland, I think what we've seen is our group is very much spread into mostly international organizations, like Olo was saying. So one person's at the WHO. I know someone else is working on a coalition for epidemic preparedness initiatives. And I think he was originally in Geneva, but he's now working in Norway. Someone else is working for the Open Society Justice Initiative, doing litigation for them, and that's in New York City. Someone else is in New Zealand doing litigation, but very much healthcare litigation. So I think a lot of us more went into sort of industry work, or stayed on our internships. Some people expanded their internships into a full year or even longer before going like to work full time. But I think it sort of gave us the opportunity to look in other places outside of just DC. And as a result, I think that might also affect sort of why some people are at O'Neill and some people aren't.
Gianluca? Thanks, Jasmine.
Yes, thank you. Just quick to follow up on what Jasmine said. I think that precisely the point. If you spend your whole academic year in Washington, I guess it's easier also to want to continue on at O'Neill. So we are not able to track all the students that have done the joint LL.M. Some people don't keep in touch. Of those that we've been able to follow, as Jasmine just recalled, it's a variety of professional outcomes. Law firm, international organization, WHO in particular, like Amelie shows. I think one of the students is working in the World Bank, pharmaceutical industry. I know one student that works in Eli Lilly, and another one in Novartis. These public-private partnership, these coalition on epidemic, the SAPI, I forgot what the acronym is about, but it's one of these big public-private partnerships. So that's quite a number of people have found jobs there. So quite a diversity of professional outcomes. Besides Jasmine, who is now working in a university, I'm not sure that many of them have chosen an academic career. Mostly, I think, a professional career, international organization, industry, or NGO, think tanks, and so on.
Thanks, Gianluca. Will we share the link to this session? Yes, we'll plan to share a recording of this session for you, or post it on it's usually posted on our YouTube page, on the O'Neill Institute's YouTube page. I am in Tanzania. Here in my country, there are some people from your institute. Do you provide online? So unfortunately, just because of how the program is designed, it is designed to be fully in person. So we don't have any online components at this time. And we found that that really is the best way, because especially for the law LL.M. in global health law and governance, there really is the experience of living in and working and learning in Geneva is one of the biggest selling points. And so that is not something that you can get online. Gianluca, I don't know if you have anything to add to that. No, okay.
I know, definitely. Also, the Graduate Institute has trying to phase out online learning after COVID. So there can be very exceptional situation, but in principle, people must be in Geneva. I confirm what Olo said.
Thanks, Gianluca. Is prior experience in the field required to apply for the program? Interest is what we prioritize. Experience is great, it's a great thing to have, but we wouldn't look away, well, we wouldn't discount your application just because you don't have experience in the field. So the short answer really is no. While we do like to see applicants with experience, with prior experience in the field, it doesn't ruin your application if you don't have experience. So like Jasmine said earlier as well, we have people who come directly from law school to do the LLM program right after they take the bar, and some people who come with up to 10, 15 years of experience. So there really isn't a perfect applicant that we're looking for. It's just about how you put together your application and what the selling points are. Jessica, I see you have your hand up.
Yes, I do. I do have something to say. So if, of course, it's like Olo said, we don't require experience, but so we please ask you to share a little bit more into details in your personal statement, why you want to pursue the health law program, what you're aspiring for your future, and just so we understand a little more where you're coming from, your background, and why this move, this change would be a good fit for you. Because the LLM is also an opportunity for a career shift, a career change. So we are, we of course, we give the this benefit of the LLM for candidates, but just so explain a little more into details for us so we can understand and it makes sense for, but whatever makes sense for you will, and you express that in your personal statement, of course, will make sense for us as well.
Gianluca?
Yeah, so that's an interesting point. As Jessica and Olo said, you don't have to be a health insider to get into the program. Many people come without an immediate direct experience. At the same time, this is not an undergraduate program. This is a graduate program. So as Jessica said, what's important if you don't have experience in health, and health after all is a bit of a niche from a legal point of view, is to show an interesting and a preparation. To be very frank, sometimes we get letters of motivation that say something like, my father had a heart attack, so I discovered global health law. That's not credible. So it has to be something that shows that you can contribute and you can learn from a graduate program dedicated to global health. So I think that that's very important to underscore.
Thank you, Gianluca. This one is for you as well. Can we do the internship in private organizations such as J&J?
So yes, definitely. There's no preclusion for the private sector. Actually, one of the big NGOs in Geneva is called the International Federation of Pharmaceutical Manufacturer Association. Is like a bit of a lobbyist for the industry, and they absorbed quite a number of students for internships in the past. So of course it has to be something health related, I would say mostly pharmaceuticals, can be biotechnology, can be something that has to have a positive relationship with health. Don't do it in British American tobacco because we will not be happy with that. But otherwise, I'm joking. Also a private company would be acceptable. To my knowledge, I don't remember, besides IFPMA, I don't remember students getting an internship into companies, into corporations. But again, we cannot exclude it, of course.
Thanks, Gianluca. The next question is for you, Jessica. When is the deadline for applications?
Yeah, so our application opened October 1st this year, and we have priority deadline is February 5th for foreign trained lawyers and February 15th for US trained lawyers. What priority deadline means is that we will guarantee that you, after review for admissions, your application will go to the scholarship committee for a scholarship review. After that deadline, we still accept applications, but we cannot guarantee that the scholarship committee will be able to review your application and offer you a scholarship. So you can apply until, I would say, be mindful, depend on if you need a visa. So apply as early as you can, but we will receive application until the end of May. It's just in terms of visa. So if you need to apply for a visa, we request you to apply as early as you can, so you have an easy and smooth process. Other than that, and also the scholarship, be mindful for the priority deadline. Yeah.
Thanks, Jessica. Since I have you here as well, there's a question about the registrar's certificates.
Yes.
They're asking for more clarification.
Yeah, so the register certificate, if you go on our website, we have a link and then you print it out. And it's basically a certification that has to be signed by the your university who issue your diploma. So if you have multiple diplomas or degrees, you have to do the register form for each of them. And then you send it to them. They basically have to sign. It's a very easy form, one-page form. They have to sign and send from their university directly to us. And then that's how we do kind of a background check to just certify that your diploma is coming from that institution. It's very easy process. You pay a fee for that form, so we can do the check. So on top of the application fee, we do require this form that there is an extra fee. But since I forgot to mention, so the application fee for people that are today watching this webinar, we will be granting a fee waiver for the application fee, so which is $90. We will have the fee waiver will be sent it to you by email by the end of this week. So then you can apply to us and not pay that fee. But the register form, it still has this is a smaller fee, which you still have to pay for.
Thank you, Jessica. There's also a question about the academic calendar for the year in Washington. So I will also share the link to this in response to your question. But generally, for the semester students spent in DC, the fall semester starts towards the end of August when students come in for their orientation, and then it goes on to middle of December. So this year, the semester ends December 13, and then students are on break till January of the following year. But as Gianluca shared, the students don't resume in Geneva until February, which is a bit later than when students who are in DC for the full year come back to campus. But I'll share the link to the current calendar with you as well, just so that you can see what it looks like. This is for Gianluca and Olivia. How often have international students faced challenges in the transition from the US to Geneva in terms of immigration passes or visas? And in that case, are they able to defer a semester as they try again?
So from what I know, we never had a problem with the students facing challenging or for getting a visa to come to Geneva. Usually they're able quite easily to have a visa. People need to go to the embassy of Switzerland in their own country, ask a visa, and after they change it for a student permit here in Geneva directly. And we provide visa support letters. So I don't know if you have something to add, Gianluca, but I think we never had this case.
Yeah.
This
Yeah,
case
to my
scenario.
knowledge, there was never a problem in getting a visa. Again, the support letter from the institute is enough for getting a visa. Let me add that Switzerland is part of the so-called Schengen area, which is an area of I believe 15 something European countries. that basically allow you to travel without a passport across the area. So the visa you get is not just for Switzerland, it's for the whole Schengen area. You can travel to Germany, France, Italy without any further formalities. But again, to my knowledge, we never had any problem, so we don't expect any problem in the future.
Thank you both. Is there a direct progression after doing the LLM to do a doctorate in any other university outside the global north? I would say yes. I don't know if any of the alums of the program have done this in the past, but there is nothing stopping you from proceeding to do a PhD right after the LLM. You get an LLM certificate that generally waives the requirement of doing an LLM again for the PhD or SJD or whatever program it is that you would like to do. The only other thing is, depending on the requirements of the university that you are applying to, if they ask you to show proof of a thesis, we usually have students do like a graduate independent research paper that they are able to do, or like Gianluca shared, you can also opt to do a thesis at Geneva if that is a requirement of the university that you are applying to for a PhD. Otherwise, a number of the papers that you would do here at Georgetown are between 3,000 to 6,000 words, which often would show that you have the capacity to do independent research and writing, which is generally what most PhD programs require you to show. I don't know if Gianluca has anything to add to this.
No, I think you put it very well, Lolo. In a way, it depends on, if you apply for a PhD, it depends on the university where you apply in terms of requirements or conditions and so on. To my knowledge, I can't think of any student or the joint LLM that chose to apply for a PhD, precisely because they don't do that for an academic career. They are more oriented towards a professional career. But there's no preclusion. Depends really on where you apply and what the conditions for admissions are.
Thanks, Gianluca. I'm a human rights lawyer currently in the US as a lawful permanent resident. What career options are available here in the US, and do I qualify for a scholarship? I would say that there are so many different things that you can do with the health law LLM, even the LLM in global health law and governance, even in the US. There are many international, intergovernmental organizations in the US. The World Bank is here, just like Gianluca shared. The UN agencies that are in New York. There are many civil society organizations as well who are looking for people who have knowledge at the intersection of health and the law. And so there are really endless opportunities for you with this LLM program. I would also just recommend that you can go through our website and see some of the alums from this program and see what they are doing. Often we try to get these alumni to come and chat with current students as well, just to open up students' minds to the options that are available in the field. But if you go to our website, you can see their names, you can find them on LinkedIn and just see what they are doing and what of these career options currently you might be interested in. With respect to the scholarship, that really would depend on your application and the scholarship committee. So what I would just recommend is to put your application together, put your best foot forward, click submit on that application, and we generally see a lot of wonderful, incredible students every year. And so it's a very tough choice for the scholarship committee when they look at applications, but just put your best foot forward and put together the application, and the scholarship committee will definitely get back to you on that. Any final questions? I would also say, I think Gianluca and Olivia have shared their emails almost throughout the presentation, but if you also want to, Olivia, maybe show a slide that has your email addresses as well, just so that people know how to contact you after this webinar. Just feel free to send an email. There's another question about if the program is virtual. No, the program is fully in person. There's no virtual component to it. Yes, we will be having webinars like this every month. So actually next month we will be talking about financing the LLM program, if that is a topic that might interest you. We'll be having some alumni of the program coming to talk about how they finance their LLM, what kind of scholarships they received, how they made themselves competitive for that. We'll definitely send an email to the email address that you registered for this webinar with, but also just feel free to follow us on LinkedIn or stay connected to us if you would like to receive more information about the other webinars that we'll be doing. I know the admissions department at Georgetown also will have webinars frequently about the application process. So if at any point you would like to ask more questions about that, just I think if you sign up if you check the admissions website, you can find more information about that. Or Jessica, is there any other way to get connected to learn more about the admissions webinars?
Yeah, we have all of them on our website in the info session space, and also I left here at the email of our office. If you have any questions, you are welcome to always email us.
Great, thank you. Thank you all for joining. We really enjoyed chatting with you. Since this is Gianluca and Olivia's webinar, I will give you guys the last word.
Okay, so I hope our marketing pitch was successful. And again, going back to the question, I'm in a dilemma. Which program is better for me? I think Ola put it very clearly. One is more of a law school program. The other is more of a social science. But anyway, either way, I think you will have a great program, and we'll give you a lot of tools and weapons to find your way in global health. We do need global health, as you will see if you study either in Geneva or in Georgetown, is not just a clinical thing. There's a lot of justice and equity consideration. It's something that has a strong, I would say, moral component. And so we do need people that are solid professionals, but also that believe in the need to advocate to get better outcomes for health. And very competitive, sometimes I would say almost hostile environment. So definitely we do need good students for better health outcomes. Olivia, you have a firework.
Yeah. Thank you. So thank you everyone for attending this webinar. It was a pleasure to explain a little bit more about the Geneva Graduate Institute and this amazing program, joint program that we have with Georgetown. From all the feedback we have from our previous students, it's really a successful program. People are really enjoying it. They are enjoying coming here in Geneva, being able to be in a diverse to be able to be with so many nationalities around them. We have a huge diversity here, as we said before, and to learn so much about all the professors that we have. So we hope to see you soon. And please contact me if you have any question. You have my contacts here on the slide.
Thank you very much, and many thanks to Jasmine and Amélie for making themselves available. Many thanks for sharing your experience.